Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of literary music series Pictures at an Exhibition. Modest Mussorgsky composed his Pictures at an Exhibition in honor of his friend, Russian artist and architect Victor Hartmann, who had died in 1873 at the age of 39. 2 weeks after Hartmann's death, his friends organized a major exhibition of his works at the Imperial Academy of Arts in St. Petersburg. About a year later, Mussorgsky completed his Pictures at an Exhibition, which took him all of 20 days. In this piece, Mussorgsky depicted himself walking through the exhibition and contemplating Hartmann's works. The piece consists of 10 movements, separated by a recurring varied promenade. Each movement is devoted to a distinct painting and attempts to capture its essence. Unfortunately, most of Hartmann's 400-plus paintings have been lost to time, but in this collage I've included the few that have survived. The piece begins with what Mussorgsky calls a promenade in modo russico. Promenade is French for a walk, and in modo russico is Italian for in the Russian style. A kind of musical self-portrait, it depicts Mussorgsky walking into the great hall of the Imperial Academy. The first picture is Gnomus, Latin for gnome. The critic, Vladimir Stasov, a friend of Mussorgsky's, tells us that this movement was inspired by a design for a nutcracker, a fantastic lame figure on crooked little legs. The movement is characterized by sharp accents and dissonances, depicting a nasty, miserable, deformed creature one would encounter in folklore, not your cute everyday garden gnome. The next picture is Il Vecchio Castello, or the Old Castle, which depicts a medieval castle with a solitary troubadour included for scale. Mussorgsky places the castle in Italy with a lilting Siciliano rhythm, but the melody has a mournful Russian character. The next picture, Tuileries, was inspired by a now lost crayon drawing of the Tuileries Gardens in Paris. For scale, Hartmann added figures of children playing with their nurse. The music depicts the children's games. The opening melody may represent the children's teasing calls of nyanya, nyanya, which means nanny, nanny in Russian. The following picture is Bydla. This picture did not survive, but Mussorgsky likely had in mind a large cart pulled by cattle and driven by a burly, brutish peasant. The picture that inspired the ballet of the Unhatched Chicks survives. According to Stasov, Hartmann designed the costumes for the staging of the ballet Trilby at the Mariinsky Theater in St. Petersburg. In the cast were a number of boy and girl pupils from the theater school, arrayed as canaries. Others were dressed up as eggs. The playful music depicts the whimsical nature of these costumes, as seen in the painting. The next picture, Samuel Goldenberg and Schmuhle, enters without an intervening promenade. Samuel Stasov explained, Victor Hartmann gave Mussorgsky two of his sketches from real life, those of the rich and the poor Jew. Mussorgsky was most delighted with the expressiveness of these pictures. First we meet Samuel Goldenberg, the wealthier of the two. Mussorgsky gives him a deep, booming voice. Mussorgsky depicts the poor Schmuhle, by contrast, with a melody full of repeated notes that depict his shivering and kvetching in the cold. The marketplace at Limoges, as many of the others, did not survive. Limoges is a city in central France, and the painting had shown a group of market women quarreling violently by their pushcarts. This can be easily heard by the sharp dissonances in the music. In the margin of his score, Mussorgsky scribbled, Great news! Monsieur de Poussingaud has just recovered his cow, the fugitive, but the good crones of Limoges are not entirely agreed about this, whereas Monsieur de Pantaleon's nose, which is in the way, remains the color of a peony. Another surviving painting shows Hartmann himself looking at the Paris catacombs, the inspiration for Catacombs Sepulchrum Romanum and Con Mortuis in Lingua Mortua, which means with the dead in a dead language. Two men in top hats whisper to each other, accompanied by Hartmann holding a lantern that illuminates rows of neatly arranged skulls. A series of strange, often dissonant harmonies rings out in the darkness, the alternation of loud and soft, a kind of written-out reverberation that suggests the cavernous space. Mussorgsky writes, "The creative spirit of the departed Hartmann leads me to the skulls and invokes them. The skulls begin to glow faintly." The movement fades into Con Mortuis in Lingua Mortua. The introspective mood is sustained with an evocation of the promenade theme in a minor key and an eerie tremolo in the right hand. The peaceful mood is shattered by the next movement, the hut on hen's legs, Baba Yaga. In Russian folklore, Baba Yaga is an evil witch who lives deep in the forest in a hut on chicken legs and flies around in a mortar she drives with a pestle, looking for children to eat. As you can see, Hartmann's painting only depicts the hut, but Mussorgsky portrays Baba Yaga's ride as well with this terrifying movement. The final movement, Great Gate of Kiev, conveys an old heroic Russia with a Russian Orthodox chant, "As you are baptized in Christ." Hartmann's design for this monumental gate survives. It shows a grand arched entryway connected to a chapel and a bell tower with a dome in the shape of a Slavonic helmet. The distinctive sound of Russian church bells emanates from the gate's tower, above which the promenade theme returns. Hartmann's gate was never built, but here, his and Mussorgsky's vision of art becomes reality. Mussorgsky's music may not have been able to save all of Hartmann's pictures, but whenever pictures at an exhibition is performed, they are brought to life again. I hope you enjoy my performance.